What's up, you freaking geniuses? So in this video, I'm going to teach you how to find the average rate of change of a function over an interval. Okay, so the formula to find the average rate of change of a function is right here. So that's simply equal to f of x of 2 minus f of x sub 1 all over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. All right, so we're going to go over just two examples here. Here's the first example that we're going to go over. So we're going to find the average rate of change of this function right here. F of x is equal to negative 2x plus 15. And we want to find that rate of change between x sub 1 is equal to 0 and x sub 2 is equal to 3. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is basically just find the first two terms in our formula, right? So f of x sub 2 and f of x sub 1. So we simply have to plug in the two x's that were given, right? X sub 1 and x sub 2. We plug in each of these into the function and see what pops out, all right? So first, let's find f of x sub 1. So that's going to be f of, well, what is x sub 1 in this case? Well, it's given as 0, right? So here we're going to plug in a 0 into the function, okay? So let's plug in a 0 into the function. So the function is equal to negative 2x plus 15. So here f of 0 is going to be equal to negative 2, and instead of x, we're going to plug in a 0, right? And then plus 15. So then here, this is going to be equal to 0, and 0 plus 15 is equal to 15, all right? So f of x sub 1 is equal to 15, all right? Now, let's find f of x sub 2, all right? Now, in this case, we're given that x sub 2 is equal to 3, all right? So let's plug in a 3 into the function now. So we're going to get f of 3, all right? So that's going to be equal to negative 2 times x, but again, instead of x, this time we're going to plug in a 3, and then we have plus 15. So then this is going to be equal to negative 2 times 3 is equal to negative 6 plus 15, and that's equal to positive 9. Okay, great. So now that we know what f of x sub 1 is equal to, right, it's 15, and f of x sub 2 is equal to 9, let's plug those two numbers into this formula up here, all right? So then here we're going to get that the average rate of change of this function is equal to f of x sub 2, which is 9, minus f of x sub 1, which again is 15, and that's going to go over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. So the problem here told us that x sub 2 is equal to 3, and then we're going to subtract that, right, from x sub 1, which again was 0. All right, so then here, 9 minus 15 is equal to negative 6, and 3 minus 0 is 3. So then here, negative 6 divided by positive 3 is equal to negative 2. Boom. Alrighty then, now let's go over this last example. So this time we're going to use this function right here. F of x is equal to x cubed minus 3x squared minus x. And this time the two x values that were given are x sub 1 is equal to negative 1 and x sub 2 is equal to positive 2. All right, so again, the first thing we want to do is simply find f of x sub 2 and f of x sub 1. So let's first find f of x sub 1. So what is x sub 1 in this problem? Here, this time it's equal to negative 1. All right, so let's plug in a negative 1 into the function up here. So here we can say f of negative 1. So then here we're going to get that it's equal to x cubed, but we're going to plug in a negative 1 wherever we have an x, right? So here we're going to get negative 1 cubed. And then we're going to subtract 3 times x squared. So here we're going to get negative 1 squared. And then we're going to subtract x, which again is negative 1. Okay, so then this is all going to be equal to negative 1 cubed is equal to simply negative 1. And then here, negative 1 squared is equal to positive 1, and positive 1 times negative 3 is equal to just negative 3, right? So then here we get minus 3. And then here we're subtracting a negative 1. That's the same thing as adding, right? So plus 1. So we get plus 1. So then here, this negative 1 and positive 1 cancel out, so we're just left with negative 3, right? So f of x sub 1 is equal to negative 3. So we're going to plug in negative 3 into our formula, or sorry, not right there. We're going to plug in negative 3 right there into the formula. And now we just need to find f of x sub 2, right? So we're going to say f of x sub 2 is equal to, and this time x sub 2 is given as positive 2, right? So we're going to plug in a positive 2 this time into the function. So here we're going to get positive 2 cubed minus 3 times 2 squared minus x, and x again is just 2. All right, so then here this is going to be equal to 2 cubed is equal to 8, 2 squared is equal to 4, and 4 times 3 is equal to 12, right? So we're going to have minus 12, and then minus 2. Okay, 8 minus 12 is negative 4, and negative 4 minus 2 is equal to negative 6. All right, so this is f of x sub 2, so we're going to plug in a negative 6 right there into the formula. All right, so then this time we're going to get that the average rate of change is equal to negative 6 minus negative 3, and that's going to be all over x sub 2 minus x sub 1, so that would be 2 minus negative 1, right? So we're going to have 2 minus negative 1. So on top, negative 6 minus negative 3 is the same thing as negative 6 plus 3, so on top we get negative 3. And on the bottom, 2 minus negative 1 is the same thing as 2 plus 1, which is equal to 3, positive 3. So then here we get negative 1. Boom. So if you found the video helpful, make sure to leave a thumbs up down below. And if you have any questions, let me know in the comments section below.